Filth.
Alright, I'm gonna go.
Alright.
I forgot what to say.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our beloved podcast, Impressions in Motion. I forgot what it was called then.
Oh man, it's only the second episode, mate.
Exactly. I am here with that voice you just heard, the beautiful Curtis 55. Say hello, Curtis.
Yo, how's it going, ladies and gentlemen? How are you? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling down? If you are down, we'll hopefully elevate the mood. Yeah, welcome to Impressions in Motion. We had a little bit of a giggle before the podcast started, and it's an inside joke that we might let you in on at a future date.
All right, let's start off. It's been about 2 weeks. I think maybe just under 2 weeks.
Something like that.
Or over. I think I've been just a bit over 2 weeks, actually.
Well, hey.
So let's start off by seeing what we've been up to. What have you gone up to since last time, Curtis 55?
Chris, the stuff I've been up to has been immense. It's been a whole lot of nothing. No. No, in all honesty, yeah, I've just been doing that live thing, working. And since TV season has started up again, I've had to try and reorganize my time between watching that, but also trying to watch a whole lot of films. And I had a significant event happen to be yesterday, but we'll get to that at a later point in the podcast.
Oh, this is like exactly the same structure as the first episode where you teased Blade Runner 2049 at the beginning, but you wouldn't mention it by name.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. Is it keep them wanting more, man? The audience likes suspense, mystery and tension, man.
But it's not like TV. You could just skip to the end of a podcast.
Well, that's at their discretion. For the time being, I'm going to let it ride.
All right, cool.
All right, what's been going on with you, man?
The same sort of stuff, that life. As you know, I work really early hours, so I'm pretty much wiped out in the days these days. And I also went back to uni on that old postgraduate life these days. But I've been trying to change my course, and it's just been so many it's a struggle. It's a struggle. But yeah, that's a long old tale for another day.
Okay, so what films? Let's talk about films then. What you've been watching?
All right, cool. Well, since you went first last time, I'll go first this time.
Oh, okay.
Let's count how many films I've seen since we last spoke. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which I think is exactly the same as in the last episode.
Ooh, check you out.
So I'll go through these in what order? I'll go from in language order. So the English language films I have seen, I watched. I finally saw Everest. Did you ever get around to Everest?
Oh yeah, man, I saw that in the cinema, boy.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to see it, but I just never got around to it. What did you think of it?
I really liked it. I thought it was a very impressive film. Obviously from the visual perspective, the film looked great. It had a great sense of scale, and that's one of the things I always like about films where, when it comes to certain locations or just buildings and stuff like that, when you should show the sense of scale where it looks completely daunting and ridiculous, and you're just like, how in the holy mother of Christ are these people doing this madness? That was illustrated really well. I thought the performances were really solid, and considering what happens to some of these people, there was a good sense of realism to the proceedings. So I thought it was really good, and I saw it with my dad, and while it's not like my dad's hard to impress,
did he fall asleep?
Oh no, he was awake for the majority of this one, which was surprising. So he said that he really liked it as well. So I was like, if my dad really likes it, then it's something to be paying attention to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page. I think it got pretty average reviews.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. It really had that sense of scale and the magnificence that you would expect to see of Mount Everest on the screen. And I didn't know at all that it was based on a true story. I thought it was just a kind of like fictional tale. But yeah, that was interesting to see, and I like that it just got straight into it. As soon as the film began, that's it. They're going up Everest. There was no like establishing the cast or the characters or anything like that. It got straight into it. And it's been a while since I've seen a film that kind of took that approach. But at the same time, it really did develop the characters well throughout the runtime, and you really got a feel for a lot of them. So yeah, I say it was worth a watch. It wasn't phenomenal, but I don't regret watching it. And I saw The Babysitter, which is a film that has been making going around the internet recently. It's a Netflix film. Have you heard about that one?
I think so. You're gonna have to remind me of what it's about.
So basically, there's this kid. I think he's about 13, give or take, and he still has a babysitter, but he doesn't really mind. He's a bit of a wimp, but he doesn't really mind because she's attractive. Everybody loves her, so they have this sort of buddy kind of friendship. But one night, he sees her on accident performing this sort of satanic ritual, trying to make a pact with the devil or something along those lines. And the rest of the film is sort of like a pursuit between him and her friends and stuff like that. It's definitely a film for the 21st century. It's sort of an Instagram age film where the comedy and just the film itself is very in your face. And I think you'll either love it or hate it. For me, it didn't really do a lot, and I could have done without it, but sometimes you watch films and they're just not that good. So, but I saw Wind River, which is that film with your boy, what's his name? Help me
Renner.
out. What's he called? Jeremy Renner. Is that him?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. I know you're a fan of that guy.
I like him. I mean, like, it's not like, was it my favorite actor in the history of existence? He ain't no Will Smith.
Oh, yeah, but you used to go on about him when he was in the Avengers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, there was that period where, like, Jeremy Renner, like, I started to like him, and then, like, there was that period where I was like, oh, he's in that Bourne Legacy film, and that film was pants. And I was just not on him for a little bit. But then he came back around. I still think he was like the best part of American Hustle. That film was so overhyped, but he was really good. I didn't see that.
But yeah, Wind River, it was really decent. It's a nice self-contained story, very atmospheric at times, and but it's also very ponderous and leaves you thinking. And some really great performances in there too. So let's move on to the Japanese films I've seen. I've seen a film called Her Love Boils Bathwater, which is a very strange title, but it does make sense in the context of the film. I won't explain why, because it's a bit of a spoiler. Oh. But I think this was Japan's entry to the Oscars this year.
Okay.
Citation needed. But yeah, it was a good film. It's very melodramatic, kind of what you'd expect from Japan. But at the same time, it does reach you to the heart. And it has some really, really phenomenal performances in there. But I think it was completely outshined for me by a film from 2013 that I saw this week called A Story of Yonosuke, which is another Japanese film. It's sort of a coming-of-age tale about this country bumpkin sort of character. He's a bit of a quirk, a bit peculiar, called Yonosuke. And he lives in Nagasaki, but he moves to Tokyo to start university. And the film is quite long. It's almost 3 hours, and it's about him, and it just follows his activities really without much haste. It's got a nice slow pace, and it just builds up an atmosphere and a very nice and lovable kind of understanding for this character. And chiefly the film is about, not so much about Yonosuke. Well, it is about Yonosuke. I'm kind of butchering that explanation here, but it is about Yonosuke, but at the same time it's about all the characters around him and how they perceive him and how he has an effect on their lives. Every now and then the film will cut to the future, a few decades in the future, and show the characters as they're older, and they'll still be talking about this guy they knew, back in university, Yonosuke, and how he did that and how he was this way. And it's just about the fleeting sort of emotions and friendships and situations you find yourself in during your youth and also your older life that really stick with you. And it's just a really lovable film, and Yonosuke as a character is just such a fun character. Just, when there's a character in a film that you just love to follow, and you could just watch a whole series of films with that character in. Yonosuke is one of those characters for me. And although the film was very long, I didn't feel bored at all. The pace is quite slow, but nope, it managed to keep my attention all the way through. And yeah, I really, really loved it. And that's all the Japanese films I've seen. So now on to the South Korean films I've watched.
Jeez, okay.
First one I saw is The City of Violence, which is an action film from 2006, which I would recommend to you because I know you love your action movies. But it's sort of one of those action films that's kind of cheesy, a bit absurd. All the characters kind of play it so sternly that it becomes funny. And, it's got those crazy scenes in where, like, 2 guys fight 200 guys. So, yeah, it's a bit wacky. And it doesn't really have much of the plot. It does have a plot, but it's not too deep or interesting or complex or, involved. It just kind of serves as a way for these action scenes to take place.
Yeah.
But, that said, it was a good film and it always kept my attention. And there are some really nice shots in there. The cinematography really does have its moments. There's one scene in particular where the good guys infiltrate the bad guys' lair, and groups of bad guys are revealed behind these sliding doors, in succession. And just the way it's framed and set up is just, and timed, is just really, really quite immaculate. And it's just little things like that that really, make the film stand out. So yeah, I'm glad I watched it. But it was nowhere near as good as The Villainess, which I also saw this week. It's kind of hard to do this one justice and give a kind of adequate description because it's very slick, it's very stylized. But the action itself is really phenomenal. If you like your action cinema, then you should like The Villainess. The action scenes themselves are nice and long. They're very well choreographed, and there's some great combination of choreography and effects in there to kind of create these really alluring and spectacular set pieces. And the performances from Kim Ok-bin and Shin Ha-kyun are really, really good, and I especially love Shin Ha-kyun. He's been in a few South Korean films I've seen. He's really an actor to look out for. So yeah, The Villainess, all in all, it lived up to my expectations, and I'm looking forward to watching it again. But I would say the best South Korean film I've seen this week is A Taxi Driver. And this is a film set in I think it's actually set in 1980. It's based on a true story. I'm not sure how much you know about the history of South Korea, but they are a country just going back about 30 or 40 years ago, did not have democracy. And there was, I think, the government was overthrown by the military. All this is citation needed. I'm not like some expert, but there was like military rule in the 80s in South Korea, and there was a lot of protests against the government, mostly student-led. But some of them got really out of hand, and the government declared martial law. Everyone had to be at home by like 7 p.m. And the protests kind of got out of hand in this one town called Gwangju.
Yeah.
And the government eventually closed the whole town off. They wouldn't let anybody in or anybody out. And they just started like slaughtering essentially the protesters. And they sent in these special like elite paratroopers into the town, and they just started killing people really who were just protesting. So it's insane to think what happened, but this is a film about that. It's called A Taxi Driver because when all this was happening, the taxi drivers played like a very prominent role.
Yeah.
They'd like ferry the wounded to the hospital and stuff like that. But Yeah, it takes place over a few days, but I have seen another film that deals with the same subject. I think it's called 18th of May. But this one, it's very, very heartfelt, and Song Kang-ho I really love him. He's a great actor. Probably, if I had to pick my favourite actors, he'd be up there.
Oh.
And he's definitely one of my favourite South Korean actors. And he gives a really nuanced performance. I don't really like to use that word because it is definitely overused, but I can't really describe it in any other way because he has so many layers to him and just such depth, emotional depth, that his character was really, really quite special. And it's set in the 80s, so it has a really nice colour palette, and there's the atmosphere definitely feels like the 80s. And yeah, it's just a very, very well done film. I think it's actually South Korea's most successful film domestically this year so far. So definitely give it a watch if you can. I would really, really recommend it. So yeah, that's basically all I have seen.
Damn, you're hardcore. Too much.
Well, there is a few more, but I won't go into everything because I'll just go on for ages. But
yeah, we've got all the time in the world. What are you talking about, man?
No, we don't have all the time in the world. Somebody's got to edit this.
Oh yeah. Now I know that's not me.
Oh, you punk.
Okay. In terms of the films that I've seen, not as many as you, because I'm not some film nutcase.
Mate, well, I'm going for 200 this year.
Oh,
I'm at 164 at the moment, so I'm close.
Man, I'm gonna make a bit of an effort, like over November. Hopefully, I'll have like all that sorted. I think this year I'll probably be watching a lot more older films than newer ones, because there are a whole lot of films in my watch list. Classic films, notable films that I haven't seen yet. So, just getting around to some of those this year will be a thing. But yeah, in terms of the films I've watched since our last episode, I haven't watched anything in the cinema recently, just because there are a few films that I've wanted to see, but timing wise, with the TV that I've had to watch and some of the video games I had to play, just timing wise, I'm just gonna get out to watch any of that new stuff. So I'm like, let me just go backwards instead. So I ended up rewatching a few films, and then like some I hadn't actually seen yet. So let's see the amount of films I've seen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's been about 6. I think. So did you hear that?
Hear what?
Oh, maybe that was just my computer then. I heard this weird bing sound. It was very strange. Anyway, that was some sort of strange anomaly.
That's just your clockwork brain taking over.
Oh no.
You're like an automaton.
Yeah. Okay, so the first film that I ended up rewatching was The Incredibles, actually.
Nice.
Because I haven't seen that film for years, and is in my Pixar top 5, possibly top 3. Just because, obviously, as a guy who likes comic books and superheroes, that speaks to my brain very highly. But just as an action film, it just has so much wonderfully done in terms of animation. And at that point in time, there wasn't really that many animated films that were, doing stuff in 3D. The way in which that was done, just the cinematography used for some of these action sequences, the tracking shots, and just the way in which the camera moves around and all these fancy angles. Oh, take my breath away, man. Jeez. So, rewatching the film, it sounds silly, but I was surprised how well it still holds up. It's just the core themes and the character development and the story, it all resonates with me so much, and it speaks to me about the sort of best elements of superhero, the superhero genre and the stories and stuff like that. And it's just interesting how there were so many extra details that I never noticed before, mainly in regards to is it oh crumbs, I don't even remember the name of Mr. Fantastic right now. Not Mr. Fantastic. Oh gosh, I'm thinking of a totally different guy. No. Mr. Incredible. I can't remember what his proper name is.
Isn't it something Parr? Is it Bob Parr?
I think
Robert
Bob.
Parr?
It's Bob. Yeah. Because even though I knew that those guys obviously had like marital issues and stuff like that, the scene where they're having like, you know, the fight, and then like, you know, kids come out and it's like, bloody hell, these guys are having domestics, it's affecting their family lives, and you know, I'm like, bro, man, there's some layers to this film that I never really gave like the time of day to the first time. So I'm like, the film is just delightful. It has a great sense of humor, and just the comedic timing of some of those moments is really good. It's fun. It's just really fun, and the music is gorgeous. I bloody love it. So next after that, a few hours later, I ended up rewatching Super 8, because I haven't seen that film since I saw it in the cinema.
Didn't we mention Super 8 last time? I remember us chatting about that briefly at some point. Yeah, that film that had like no lasting appeal. Yeah.
So
Did you remember any of it?
Yes, surprisingly enough, primarily the beginning portion of the film. So, you know, when you introduce to the kids and they're messing around with the camera, and then obviously the train crash. Then there was literally increments of what I could remember from the film after that, and then sort of the ending. I'm not going to talk spoilers, but this was technically in the trailer. In the trailer, you notice that there is something in the train when it crashes and something escapes. Basically, when you find out what that thing is, I remember that portion of the film, and then, like, you know, was it what happens towards the end. I think I enjoyed Super 8 a lot more the second time around, because there wasn't any of the hype and expectations surrounding it, because obviously before Super 8 came out, there was this whole hullabaloo about, oh yeah, this is a film harkening back to, like, you know, was it sort of the late 70s, early 80s style of filmmaking, trying to capture that feeling of being, like, you know, as a young and into filmmaking and all that sort of stuff. And it's very heavily inspired by Spielberg's early work. And, you know, there was next to nothing known about the story. So yeah, there was all that hype. But then I saw the film and I was like, the film's good, but I think I expect to get a heck of a lot more. But now having known what came beforehand, I ended up really liking the film. I wouldn't say it's really great, and there's certain elements between, like, what they're doing in one portion of the story and one part of the other part of the story that don't quite mesh as well together. But I think, you know, the kids, they're all good. The acting's pretty solid. And the way in which certain things progress is just nice. And that train crash, good gravy, is just one of the most spectacular crashes of anything I've ever seen. It's just, it goes on a lot longer than I expected it to, but it's just pure carnage, and it's beautiful. And I'm like, just what wonderful wreckage.
Pure carnage is just beautiful.
Yeah.
You must love War of the Worlds.
To a degree. There's certain elements of that film that frustrate me, but, you know, that's for another time, I guess. I rewatched Doubt for the first time since 2010.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's an interesting little film. Has not Helen Mirren. Gosh, I keep getting those two confused. It has Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Viola Davis and Amy Adams in there. So the film is essentially about this nun who's this head of a school who gets wind of the priest essentially, like, you know, maybe, like, you know, is it doing dirty little things with the altar boys, isn't it? So
I remember hearing about this. Yeah, so it's basically about, like, you know, all this suspicion, mystery surrounding, like, a select few boys, mainly just one boy, and, you know, whether, you know, the priest did it or not. And there's just a great level of tension surrounding the film, and as, you know, the film progresses, it just gets more and more uncomfortable, and there's a certain level of ambiguity that they that's put into the film through not only, like, the dialogue, but also the way in which it's directed. So there's enough clues, but then it's not completely, like, you know, set outright. So then, you know, there's this element of mystery to it, which is just fascinating. And as I said before, it gets more and more uncomfortable as the film goes on, but they use some interesting techniques with the weather and, like, camera angles to just make the film feel more and more twisted and unsettling afterwards. By the time the film's over, you're just like,
That was certainly an experience. And the film score by Howard Shore, gosh, very haunting. So yeah, if you haven't checked that one out, I would say it's definitely good. If you want to see why people go on about Philip Seymour Hoffman and Meryl Streep as really good Oscar caliber actors, that's definitely one of those sort of films to check out.
Yeah.
And finally, I actually ended up seeing 4 more films all in one day. I ended up rewatching the Mission Impossible films because, funnily enough, before 2011, when Ghost Protocol came out, I had never seen any of the other Mission Impossible films in full. Ghost Protocol was my first. I just never had the interest in watching the first 2, and I remember seeing the trailer for number 3 a number of times, but I just never got around to it. I think
is number 3 the one with the rabbit's foot?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let me just get around to this, see what's going on. And I was
number
surprised
3 has Philip Seymour Hoffman in, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. I know he's in there somewhere.
Yeah. So I seen pieces of the first film, and obviously you remember when we went to Expert at one time, it was on TV and Elon was going on about it. I remember watching. Yeah,
I just remember that time that that Constantine film was on, and he went on about it like it was the second coming of Christ, like it was this godly picture.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember him being a fan of that John Woo guy, innit? So
oh yeah, he likes John Woo.
I'm pretty sure it came on TV at one point, maybe on ITV2, because I remember that film used to be on circulation all the time.
Oh, tell me about it. ITV just have about 10 or 15 films that they just show on repeat.
Yeah, I'm glad they stopped showing the Mummy films on there, because I was really getting sick and tired of seeing those films chopped up and edited, so you lost all the good, gruesome scenes in there. But yeah, watching these films through, I didn't know how much continuity there was between certain films. I didn't know bloody Ving Rhames was in the film since the first one, so I'm like, wow, these guys really do have a proper long ass connection. But yeah, I liked the first film. Very interesting, nice level of suspense and mystery. John Voight was really cool. I didn't even know Jean Reno was in this film as well, so I'm like, look, it's good to see you, man. And some of those action sequences were ridiculous, especially that thing with the train and the helicopter. Gosh, that was good. Number 2 is just ridiculous. That film just has so much unnecessary slow motion and some of the most overdone action sequences I've ever seen. The final fight between Tom Cruise and the other guy has one of the most crazy, over-the-top kicks I've ever seen in my life. And the amount of camera angles some of this stuff was shot at was absurd. And the doves and the birds, I'm like, gosh, this guy, that John Woo. That's not to say that the film definitely wasn't enjoyable. It had its moments. It's just that some of the story felt it lacked subtlety and just very strange. Number 3 was actually pretty good. I like that one a lot. For all the talk of lens flare in J.J. Abrams' films, there was literally next to none in that film. The action was solid. Philip Seymour Hoffman, man, you don't want to mess with that guy in that film. Good gravy. He's dangerous. And yeah, I thought that film was solid. I found it strange, though, that the color palette used for the film, especially during the nighttime sequences, looked very similar to Transformers, and there was one other film that was released around that time that just had a similar sort of color grading filter thing going on with it. And then I rewatched Ghost Protocol again for the first time in a while, because I rewatched Rogue Nation a few months ago, and Ghost Protocol still has some of my favorite elements in all of the series. I still think it has the best music. Has some of the best action sequences in the entire film. That whole stuff in Dubai with the massive building and stuff. Tom Cruise, you're a madman, but I love it. Crazy. Yeah, that film was just really fun, and I think that was the last film I ended up watching.
Cool, man. Nice. You have very good insight into everything you see as usual. It's been a
Thanks.
while since I've seen. I have seen. I think I haven't seen the latest Mission Impossible, but I've seen all of them, all of the rest. But yeah, you managed to jumpstart my memory a bit there because it's been a long time since I've seen the first two. So nice stuff.
Yeah, man. All right. Did you want me to move on to my main topic of like conversation for today?
Yeah, you can do. Tell me what you've got to
Ooh.
talk about.
Oh, oh gosh! Like now, I'm gonna just blow up, and the podcast will be over because I can't say anything because the excitement just overtook me and my body exploded from the core. Um, no, in all seriousness though, basically the main topic of conversation that I wanted to bring up today was the fact that I got to go to the Royal Albert Hall yesterday to check out Michael Giacchino at 50. That's the name of the event. So essentially, it's like an event where you have an orchestra come along and play several different songs from film composer Michael Giacchino's like list of credits, basically from his video games to the TV shows to the films that he's worked on, and it was fabulous because going back to I think was it 2014 or 13, I can't remember which year it was, when I went to my first sort of orchestrated concert, which was the what do you call that thing again? Yeah, Symphony of the Goddess thing for the Zelda session, where they basically did like orchestrated versions of all the Zelda music. That was the first time I went to that kind of event, and it was great. I went to another Zelda one the year after that, and then I think it was that same year they had the Pokemon orchestrated one, which I went to with my sister, and that one was great as well. So I've definitely started to get a feel for like how these concerts go down. Oh yeah, and there was the Final Fantasy one I went to as well. I forgot about that one. But anyway, yeah, I'm a sucker for orchestrated music. I love it in film especially. Film scores are one of my favorite things in film, especially when done correctly. And Michael Giacchino, especially since 2009 with his work on the reboot of Star Trek, has become one of those sort of film composers that I can notice his sound in any film that he's worked on, because it has a very signature based sound, especially when it comes to the action sequences. So when I heard that he was going to be at the Royal Albert Hall, I was like, I am not going to miss this event. I threw the money at the bloody screen so quickly back in back in February, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be there. So I waited months.
Damn,
and months
in
and
February.
Months. Yeah. So I've been counting down the months for this, and after hearing the music that he did for Spider-Man Homecoming, it just sort of reignited the fire of like being able to see him. And Chris, the event was just fab. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever get around to if you're into film music, I would highly recommend going to a concert like this, because the feeling of being in a room, hearing that music live, and then seeing the screen projection of like some of these scenes and sequences from the film is just is magical. It sounds really lame, but it really is. And the amount of people that were there, I was like, I didn't know there was that many people that were really into this side of film, because obviously when you watch films, obviously you go to watch them in the cinema or like with your friends at home and stuff like that. It's a very communal experience, but I didn't know that there was that much love for just the film music side of things. So I was literally just, I think was it 2 to 3 rows away from the front. I was literally as close as you could get to the band. Well, not band, like the orchestra themselves. I'm like, I've never been this close to anything for a long time, and it was great. And the event was really cool because what they did was, while not every film had like footage on the screen, sometimes they had like just still panning shots of certain things that represented the film. Sometimes you had clips from some of the films that he worked on, from Jurassic World to Doctor Strange and Star Trek, Spider-Man, and I think 1 or 2 other films here and there. But also, before certain films, you even had the directors of certain films coming out to, introduce them. So for Rogue One, you had Gareth Edwards, you had J.J. Abrams come up before they talked about Super 8. You also had, who was the other? That was one of Matt Reeves for, War for the Planet of the Apes. And it was great to just see these directors like up on the stage talking about their experiences working with like Giacchino and stuff. and he sounds like a brilliant guy, like, you know, just to work with and stuff like that. And to see those directors as well, you know, some of these people that I really like and respect just right up there on the stage, and I'm literally just a few feet away from them, like, this is crazy. I'm having the best time of my life. But honestly, I've followed this guy's music so much over the last few years, and the fact that they got like nearly the entirety of a lot of his most notable discography slash filmography, I guess. The fact that they got so much of his you know, music into the show was just fabulous. They started off with The Incredibles, which was just perfect. And just seeing all the key scenes that they took from that film and then like just had the music going. Oh, Chris, you should have seen how giddy I was. I was like, oh, I was having the best time of my life. I was enamored by like everything that was happening. And they played some of my favorite songs, you know, from Star Trek. They had elements of Enterprising Young Men, which is like the main theme from like the new Star Trek movies. They also had some of the music from Spider-Man Homecoming, which was during the intro sequence, you know, when he's in school and stuff. The Doctor Strange stuff they had from some latter side of the film. I think it's sort of the outro credits music as well, which was really good. They had some of the key themes from Rogue One. All of it was wonderful. And some of the stuff I'd even forgot he worked on, like you know, Speed Racer and was it John Carter? I almost forgot about that one. But yeah, like some of his, you know, action-based stuff has such an impact and such a upbeat, crazy, bombastic kind of sound. But then also some of the stuff he has for, you know, the more subtle, more dramatic, emotional material is just, it touches the soul in a way which I've only ever experienced with like a handful of like film composers, you know, like Danny Elfman and like John Williams. So I was in love. I'm not gonna lie, I was having the best time ever. And you know, some of that emotional stuff, especially when it came to the music for Lost, Jurassic World, and John Carter in particular, I was starting to feel the emotions like, and it's starting to take me. I was like, man, I'm not gonna cry, man. There's someone sitting next to me. I don't want to see me. But yeah, he came and did one final song, and then ended up doing 3 encores after that. It was fab. It was honestly just a wonderful experience. I had the best time ever. Getting there was not a good experience because when I got to St. Pancras, I found out that the bloody underground was all shutting down, so I ended up having to run there, which took about just over an hour.
Was this at the weekend?
Yesterday. I didn't know that there was anything going on with the underground in terms of any.
Oh, on Friday.
Yeah.
And the underground was. Tricky.
Yeah, they literally just they were literally just closing down. Like, you know how obviously to go to the underground they had like you know, stairs that you have to go down and stuff like that. They had. Yeah. They were just taping them off, or you know, you have those little shutters. They were closing those off, and I'm like,
what time was this?
This was about maybe just after 6, I think. Yeah.
6 p.m.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I ended up having to use Google Maps and like basically walk down there myself. I took about 2 wrong turns, or maybe 3 on the way down, because the annoying thing is my version of Google Maps doesn't have that thing where you can rotate the map, so it's in the direction you're going in. So.
Well, you sure it doesn't have that?
I think it's because I reset my my phone's like settings on a good number of the apps, so I think it's gone back to factory settings or whatever. Because I'm short on space, so I had to like get rid of a whole lot of stuff. But there was this one point where it ended up saying you have to walk through a park to get there. Bearing in mind it was nighttime, I'm like, I literally just looked at that park and there was no lights in there. I was like, hell no, am I going in there? But then I was like,
what park was it?
Gosh, I couldn't tell you what it was for the life of me. It wasn't like one of those places like Regis Park or anything like that. It was just.
I know they closed some of the parks at night.
Yeah, but this one just had a pathway into darkness, and I'm like, I couldn't see a way around for ages. It probably would have taken me an additional like 20 or 30 minutes or something. I'm like, you know what, forget that. So I just ran through the park. I ran through the park down this path in the dark, and it was just.
Did you go by yourself then?
Yeah. Because I don't know anybody that's really that into, you know, film music that would appreciate this kind of thing as much as I do. Man, I've never even asked you. You into film scores or?
Yeah, you remember when way back when Last FM used to be decent, and there was all those
yeah.
kind of add-ons, and then there was one that calculated your music based on vocals, and it separated it between female vocals, male vocals, and instrumental.
Oh
And,
yeah, I do remember
my
that.
highest category was actually instrumental, because I listened to so much like film scores and just a lot of piano music and stuff like that. But yeah, I love film music, and I haven't been to an event like you just described, but I have seen them before on YouTube, and I've watched videos before. I've seen the one for the Lord of the Rings, which Howard Shore did a long time ago, and Joe Hisaishi did one. He scores, well, I don't know if he still does. I haven't seen any of the latest Ghibli movies, but he did a lot of the soundtracks for Hayao Miyazaki's movies alongside Takeshi Kitano's films, and he did one, and I would really love to go to see one of his, but obviously I don't think he's going to be coming to this old little island anytime soon. So.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So this was at the Royal Albert Hall, was it?
Yeah, man, like the venue was.
Did you
really...
get like dressed up and all that? Did you put your tux on?
Oh no! I literally I came in with like some black jeans and like my Spider-Man top. You know, the one with the black suit Spider-Man that I bought at Expo a few years ago. I wore that like not red jacket. I don't have any red jackets. What am I talking about? My blue jacket, and I was just there with my glasses, just chilling in like the arena area, which is literally base floor right next to the band and stuff. I'm like,
oh man, you should put your suit on.
Oh mate, I would have been too warm.
Was there anybody there like in like tuxes and stuff?
Everyone was fairly, casually dressed.
I don't know. I guess I just kind of had this vision. Because usually when you see like these big orchestrated events, where you've got a huge orchestra and you got your conductor and all that, and the audience is usually like all this like really poshly dressed crowd. But I guess when it comes to film music, the audience is a bit different. So yeah, it definitely sounds cool. I haven't actually been to see any music live in a long time actually.
What was the last one for you?
Last one. Oh, I can't even remember what the last one was.
Oh.
I'll have a look. It's probably see if Last FM still has that function.
Oh yeah. Oh crows! I forgot about that. I didn't even sign into that thing. Oh gosh.
Yeah, they used to have other events. I remember I did used to click where I was going to see my last one. 2014 by the looks of it. Nope, that was not that. 2013. Yeah, 2013. I went to see a lot in 2013. I saw Sigur Rós twice. They're an Icelandic band.
Okay.
Radical Face. It's kind of like an independent band, really.
Oh my
nice
gosh,
guy.
I remember you used to go on about them before. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got to meet the singer Ben. Yeah, he's really cool. And
Nice.
I saw Lana Del Rey in near just the day before my birthday. Yeah, it was good seeing Lana. And I saw Yes and Daughter. Yeah, I need to get back into that. Yeah. It'll be nice to go see some more live music.
Man, I swear, if John Williams ever gets around to is it doing music? I wanna take you. No, I wanna take you.
Oh, is it a date?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, man, that would be cool.
Because I think like of all the composers that exist in the world, like he's one of the most notable ones. So there'd be at least a good chunk of stuff that you'd recognize. I'd hope.
Yeah, so who are your favourite film composers then?
Oh, mate, if you want to hear that, you should listen to the episode of Film Focus I have upcoming.
Wait, I should listen to this upcoming episode. So
yeah.
All right, you don't have to get into it if you want to save it.
No. I can, because chances are like no one's gonna be listening to this anyway. It's fine.
We'll get there one day. One day.
But in all seriousness, like depending on like if anybody's actually gonna be listening to this and my podcast, I just thought I'd make people aware that I will have a
Hey, what's this self-advertising?
Yeah, self-advertising because I'm part of this thing, so I can do what I want.
Just to say, we're also having a fan meetup in London at the weekend.
Yeah, man. If you just like to meet us outside of FOP and
FOP. I saw FOP. Oh, where was it? I saw a FOP the other day. I can't remember where I was, but yeah, FOP. What a shop.
Can never forget. No, but okay, seriously, to go to your question, favorite film composers. I used to have a holy trinity, but it's now become a Mount Rushmore.
A Triforce.
Yeah, man, a Triforce of power that's now become like, is it a square? So yeah, like top tier composers would be the following. I love I love gonna be like Atticus Bum before she died in Attack of the Clones.
Jesus.
Yeah, man, take them back.
I love them.
Oh gosh, you're holding me back. Okay, but seriously. So yeah, John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Danny Elfman, and Michael Giacchino. They are my top tier 4. I adore their sounds because between all four of them, should I say, they all have a very, very style sound, but they also happen to create sounds that are whimsical, powerful, emotional, dramatic. They cover the, emotional spectrum pretty well.
Yeah.
And on top of those 4, there's just a whole lot of other composers I really like, from Henry Jackman to Alan Silvestri, Patrick Doyle, James Newton Howard, Thomas.
James Newton Howard, yeah.
This is Thomas Newman.
Yeah, Thomas Newman. I love Thomas Newman.
Obviously Howard Shore. Can't forget about the beauty that he's been able to give us in film. And there's just a numerous amount of other people, but those would be sort of like the core set.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
For me, my favorite composer is definitely Joe Hisaishi. He just brings a lot of substance to Kitano's films. They're very stark sometimes.
Yeah.
For his cinematography, and a lot of his earlier films have a sort of absence of dialogue. So it's Hisaishi's music is there to kind of set like the tone, and it really just. There's a scene in Hanabi. Have you seen Hanabi?
Nah, man. It's on that list of films that you keep recommending me that I may watch before I die.
But there's this piano piece in there, which is like a montage. It shows this guy used to be a policeman, and he's wheelchair bound because he got a shot, I think it is. And he's just going along, and he stops to look at this artwork, and there's a sort of montage. The artwork is by Kitano himself. And
nice.
There's this montage of this artwork with this piano in the background, and it's just really, really, one of those sort of scenes that sends a shiver down your spine. It's
oh gosh,
yeah, it really gets me. But yeah, I love that scene, and the music that accompanies it. But I really like Hisaishi. I loved Thomas Newman. I think his work on Brothers was really good.
Oh yeah,
I really like that track. What was it? I think actually might just be called Brothers. You know what? Let me search it up.
Ooh.
No, it's called What Happened. Yeah, that's like one of the most prominent pieces from Brothers. I really like Clint Mansell. I wasn't impressed with his work in Ghost in the Shell. I just thought it just didn't have a presence at all.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed his music in The Fountain. It was very, very just atmospheric. And I don't know if have you seen The Fountain?
No, it's one of the sort of films I've heard a lot about.
Yeah, it's definitely. I wouldn't really say it's one of those love it or hate it kind of films, but it definitely has that sort of air about it where you really need to think about it, and if you're just not really concerned about it, it'll just go over the top of your head and you kind of forget about it. But there's a lot of layers to it, and it's very, very. The scale of it is really tremendous. I think it takes place over 3 different time periods or realities. It's been a while since I've seen it, but the music is really, really, really great. And obviously, I've got to say Howard Shore as well. His work in The Lord of the Rings is really great. So, yeah, those are the main ones for me. And also, I know he's not a film composer, but I do love a bit of Koji Kondo.
Ah, yes. Man, I think there's like a whole extra thing you could do about video game composers. Especially in this day and age where music, obviously along with like the cinematics and story based elements of video games, have become such a core part of the video game experience. You could talk about a heck of a lot more people now than the amount that we could talk about when was back in college. And even then, there was still a good number of people you could talk about then. But now, since, you know, video games are becoming more like movies, the emphasis on music now has definitely become like, you know, is it one of those sort of top tier quality things?
Yeah. Oh, I really liked. I'm just looking through my list of albums now. You didn't see Swiss Army Man, did you?
No, it's still in my list of films to catch up on from, was it last year?
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah, I think so, 2016. But yeah,
because also, yeah, sorry.
The score in that is really, there's a lot of a cappella.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot to do with the voice rather than instruments. Yeah. And Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe contribute a lot as well. And it really, I think you'll like it. You should check it out.
Nice. Okay, I'll definitely give that. I'll give it a watch for sure. Because I've been trying to keep track of like Daniel Radcliffe's movements, and you know,
what a stalker.
Oh yeah, that's me. No, but you know when you have like, you know, characters who actors, should I say, that have been like, you know, categorized as something for such a long time, and just trying to see them break out of it. I feel like he's well and truly like, you know, expanded beyond like that sort of you know, Harry Potter realm that he was like labeled in for a while, because you know, I think of the sort of main cast that were in the Harry Potter series, you know, child wise, Emma Watson probably had like the best sort of like break away for a little while.
Really?
I would say so, because like even with you know, the films that I was gonna call him Harry again, even with the films that like what do you call it? What's his name? Radcliffe did. You know, like the woman, like the what's it? What's the name of that? The woman.
I know.
Was that the name
I
of the
think
film?
that's it. Yeah. Did they make a second one of that?
Yeah, but I think
is he in it?
No, I think his character died in the first one or something. I never watched it. So
Spoilers!
It doesn't matter. The film's like 5 years old. But yeah, basically, like, at least from what I saw, you know, was it. I feel like Emma Watson, from what I could see, at least from what I was gauging in the film world after like Potter 7 Part 2, especially after that film ended, there was I think she found it like, you know, was it at least a little easier to break away from the Harry Potter.
What was she in though, apart from the perks of being a wallflower? That's all I remember her in.
Yeah, fair point actually.
Because you know what, she went to college in America, didn't she?
Yeah, because she
wasn't in films for a while. Yeah, I definitely think at this point though, Daniel Radcliffe is definitely broken away from the Harry Potter franchise the most, and Emma Watson to a degree. Rupert Grint, I don't really know what he's up to these days.
He's
just enjoying life, really.
He was in a few films here and there, but then he sort of just like disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yeah, he was in that film Charlie Countryman with Shia LaBeouf. Did you see that?
I know you keep telling me to watch that film.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I will. Just give me some time, please. I think I think for at least the first 2 years, like Emma Watson just had like an interesting like set of films that she ended up being in, like left, right, and center, from like The Bling Ring, which obviously that wasn't.
I never saw that.
Well, from what I've heard anyway. This Is the End. Her appearance in that film was just very surprising, but you know, these are the people just playing parodies of themselves, so I wouldn't say that really counted. And then she ended up in like Noah, like, you know, that Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, I never saw that.
She was actually pretty good in that.
I didn't realize she was in that.
I think, was it just because she was in some of these like more higher profile films than, like, you know, was it Radcliffe? I think, was it after he was in The Woman in Black in 2012? He sort of went I guess under the radar. He made a lot more indie based films for a little while, some of which I ended up seeing. I think the first
now
one
that you
I
mention
saw
it,
him,
because Emma Watson, she was in that film The Circle recently, wasn't she? And obviously she was in Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, she has actually been in quite a lot. Yeah.
But then like Radcliffe, one of the first films I ended up seeing. Oh, why do I don't even call him by his full name. It's just Radcliffe. Yeah,
Radcliffe.
He was in this film called, I think, was it Kill Your Darlings with Dane DeHaan, and I thought that was a pretty decent film. It was a very different kind of role for him.
That's the thing about Daniel Radcliffe. He tackles a lot of different roles and tries out a lot of different characters. He did that film recently where he plays an undercover investigator who's pretending to be a neo-Nazi. What was that called?
I know which one you're on about. I'm literally
what
just
was
trying
that
to look
film?
it up right now.
Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty good.
Imperium?
And,
Is that...
yeah, Imperium. That's it. I think something like that. If it wasn't that, but Daniel Radcliffe was really good in that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's come a heck of a long way since like the Potter days. Now I think he's like literally the best of any of the
Everything is just
kiddies.
surnames. Radcliffe, Potter.
Leave me alone.
Great.
But yeah, he's just been around. Oh yeah, I forgot he's in that Victor Frankenstein film. Was that really 2015? Gosh, that was a while ago.
But going back to film scores just for a second, I also really love Johan Johansson. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Yes.
Yeah, he's from Iceland. Those Icelandics, they really know how to compose some fantastic music. But I really loved his score for The Theory of Everything, and obviously he did Prisoners, Sicario, Rival as well. So yeah.
His music for Sicario is one of my favorite elements.
Yeah, Sicario it's very atmospheric. Oh man, my knees are getting stiff. I don't know how the monks do it.
See, I told you it's uncomfortable.
I've been sat in this position for about 2 hours, or maybe about an hour and a half.
Oh, what you practicing, man? You practicing to go to some monastery or something.
No, my kneecaps are crooked. I need a stretch.
Oh, jeez. Okay, cool.
My knee always does when I like move it. When I keep it in the same position sometimes, and then I move it after a while, it like clicks. I've got like a dodgy knee, but
me too.
Have you?
Yeah, like I actually have two.
You've got two knees.
Well, shut up, man. Jumped off a ledge when I was 7, and I popped the bone in my knee out of place.
What, you dislocated it?
Yeah, it was great. Great.
How did you get it back in?
Man, I had to pop that shit on myself. It was horrible.
Yeah. How old were you?
7.
So you were 7 years old. You dislocated your knee, and you just popped it back in.
Yeah, man. There was no one else that could help me on the playground.
7-year-old are you?
I was just limping around the playground after that, and then they took me home. I only got
Who
a day
took you
of
home?
Probably my dad, I think. Normally
Why
the
couldn't
person
your
that
dad
comes.
pop it back in?
No, because there was no one on the playground. It's not like I sat there like crying about it. I was just like, oh man, my knee looks like
you was
it's
out by
ripped."
yourself when you were 7 on the playground?
Yeah, man. There's like loads of other kids, but we were playing tag in it, and like I think it was one of those.
Did they not like see that something was wrong with you?
None of my mates were in the area at the time. We were all sort of running around and stuff. So I was just like, guess gonna have to do this myself. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another episode of Impressions in Motion. If you have any feedback, criticism, or you just want to say hi, holler at us, man. We're available. Do you have like any sort of online handle that people can reach you at, Chris?
Well, the thing with me is, on every website I have a different name.
Oh.
And so yeah, that makes things complicated. But no, rather than saying, I think it's better to put these things in the description rather than say them on the actual podcast, because sometimes websites can change their URL and usernames can change and stuff like that. So yeah, we can stick our social stuff in the description or wherever's handy. Yeah.
Fair enough. What's the name of your site so people can check your stuff out over there?
Oh yeah, my blog, I can give that out. It's morningroo, morningroo.com. And what is your blog, Curtis?
Ooh, my blog. My blog is the hypersonic55.wordpress.com. Actually, it's technically just hypersonic55.wordpress.com because there's no the. That's only for the email. But yeah,
You need
if
to
you
get
wanna,
yourself a custom URL.
man, I don't know. It seems weird if it was just like hypersonic55.com. Like that sounds so unnatural.
Oh, that would be cool.
Oh man, like the fact that the Hypersonic55 would have gone from just a simple username on a game site to like being an actual website like domain, that'd just be kind of funky.
It would be cool if you could get a domain that's like .55, so you could have hypersonic.55.
Oh my gosh, that'd be even crazier. All right, well, I think that is it for today's episode. Thank you for listening as always, and we shall be back with some good juice when it comes to the MCM London Expo. Yeah,
that'll be next week, probably Sunday. I'll get it edited by, so
look forward to it, ladies and gentlemen. We're hyped. Oh gosh, I'm ready.
Cool.
All right, I guess it's time to wrap up and say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Bye bye.
Farewell.